This is Lesson 37, Writing Linear Equations Review. You'll hand in your notes today. Make sure to write them down on a paper that you can hand in. Title your notes, Lesson 37, Linear Equations Review. You'll be given about 5 minutes per page to do the work. Then we will go over the questions. You should make any necessary corrections. So do these 3 problems. And then we'll go over them. Write an equation in slope-intercept form that passes through the points -3, 5, and 2, 15. So, writing these equations, first we want it in slope-intercept form, except slope-intercept form is difficult to go from these 2 points. So let's put them in point-slope form and then move them to slope-intercept form. Point-slope form would need to have a slope. So our change in y would be up 10, and our change in x would be up 5, so our slope is 2. We can pick a point, -3, 5, so we'd say y minus 5 equals 2 times x plus 3. And now we're going to change this to slope-intercept form. So to change this to slope-intercept form, we'll distribute a 2. We'll get y minus 5 equals 2x plus 6. And we'll add 5 to both sides. And we get y equals 2x plus 11. So there's slope-intercept form. Here is point-slope form. You'll be asked to do that later today. Write 3/7 x minus 2 in standard form with integer coefficients. So what would we need to do there? We need to get rid of our denominator. So we're going to multiply the entire equation by 7. We'd get 7y equals 3x minus 14. And then we'd need to get x and y on the same side. So we'd subtract 3x, and we get -3x plus 7y equals -14. Now this is an answer, except I've got 2 negative integers. So I want to make this a positive. I have more than one positive, so I can multiply this entire equation by -1. That would make positive 3x minus 7y equals 14. And this is more of an answer that you'd see. What's the standard form of a line that passes through these 2 points? So standard form of the line, well, let's get a slope-intercept form, and then we'll change that to standard form. So let's do it a different way. Let's do slope-intercept form by finding the slope. So our slope, I'll write it up here, is going to be from 4 to -5, we're going down 9. And from -1 to -7, we're going down 6. What goes into both of those? A -3. -3 goes into -9 3 times, and -3 goes into -6 twice. So our slope is 3/2. If we have a slope of 3/2, we can use a point. Y equals mx plus b, and we could use this point as x, and that point is y, and substitute them in. So 4 equals m is 3/2. 3 halves times x, which is -1, plus b, and we will continue on from here. So 3 halves times -1 is 4 equals -3 halves plus b. We'll add 3 halves to both sides. Add 3 halves to both sides. And we get b equals, now a little side problem here. What's 4 plus 3 halves? So we need to have a common denominator. Well, the smallest number that 1 and 2 both go into is a 2. And so this second fraction already has a 2, so we'll leave that alone. And now 1 times 2 makes 2, so 4 times 2 is 8. So that's 8 halves plus 3 halves, and that would make 11 halves. So our y-intercept is 11 halves. So our equation would be y equals, what was our slope? 3 halves. So 3 halves, write that a little nicer. 3 halves x plus 11 halves. Now, there's slope-intercept form. What would I need to do to write that in standard form? In standard form, we'd multiply the entire equation by the denominator, by 2. So I'd get 2y equals, my 2's are going to cancel, so we got 3x, and my 2's will cancel. Again, they're really not canceling, they're simplifying, plus 11. We want to get x and y on the same side, so we'll subtract 3x and subtract 3x. And so our answer is -3x plus 2y equals 11. And there's standard form of that equation. Take a couple minutes and try and do these problems. Write the slope-intercept form, point-slope form, and standard form of the equation of the line. So we've got, we want our line to go through the point -1, 3 and be parallel to y equals -4x plus 3. So parallel lines have the same slope. So we're looking for a slope of -4. M equals -4 here. So let's put it in point slope form first. Point slope form. So we're going to say y minus, what's our y value? 3 equals m, -4, times x minus a -1 would make that a +1. And so that's point slope form. So now to change that point slope form into slope-intercept form, we'd need to distribute, because slope-intercept form doesn't have parentheses, so we get y minus 3 equals -4x minus 4. And now we want to get y by itself, so we'll add 3 and add 3. And so we'll get y equals -4x minus 1. And there's slope-intercept form. And then lastly, we want to put the equation in standard form. So in standard form, we just want x and y on the same side. So we'd need to add 4x to both sides, add 4x to both sides, and we get 4x plus y equals negative 1 in their standard form. Now this next one, we're going to do the same thing, except for now we want it perpendicular to 4x plus 2. So perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite reciprocals. So what's the opposite reciprocal of 4? The opposite reciprocal of 4 would be negative 1/4. So we'll do the same thing. We'll put it in point slope form first. So point slope form, y minus 2 equals negative 1/4 times the quantity x minus 4. We're just substituting in our values of x and y. There's point slope form. Then we'll change it to slope intercept form by distributing a negative 1/4. So y minus 2 equals negative 1/4 x. And negative 1/4 times negative 4, well, my 4's will simplify, and we'll get positive 1. And so now I need to get y by itself, so we'll add 2 and add 2. And so we get y equals negative 1/4 x plus 3. So that's our equation of our line in slope intercept form. And now to change this to standard form, because we've got a fraction, we need to multiply this entire equation by the denominator by 4. So 4 times y would make 4y. 4 times negative 1/4 x, well, our 4's simplify, and so we'd get negative 1x. And 4 times 3 makes 12. We need to get x and y on the same side, so we'll add x to both sides. And we get x plus 4y equals 12. And there's our equation in standard form. Today's homework is 37, but before that, we're going to have a quiz today. You may use your notes, but you may not use your neighbor. You're going to hand in today's notes, you're going to hand in yesterday's homework, and you're going to take the quiz.